Scottie Scheffler won the Claret Jug a year ago. He put it on the dinner table. His manager's 10-year-old son drank lemonade out of it. And then he flew home the same night he won, straight back to Dallas. No celebration in Portrush. That is the most revealing thing any major champion has done in 20 years. This is not about how he celebrated one trophy. Scheffler has 4 major championships, 20 PGA Tour wins, and 150 consecutive weeks at world number 1. He had just completed the 3rd leg of the career Grand Slam. The broadcast was still on, the crowd was still at Royal Portrush, and he told reporters he was skipping the town celebration, heading home, and that it had been a fun week.
Honestly, I think the way Scheffler handled winning the Claret Jug tells you more about who he is and what drives him than any scorecard ever has. And the golf world spent a full week arguing about the wrong part of his press conference. Do you think Scheffler's reaction to winning the Open showed unusual humility, or is there something missing in how he experiences his own success? Drop it in the comments right now. And stay with me, because what Scheffler revealed about the Claret Jug a full year later at his Genesis Scottish Open presser is the detail that changes how you read the Portrush victory entirely, and I am not getting to it until later in this video.
To understand what happened at Royal Portrush, you need to understand the week that surrounded the trophy. It started on Tuesday. Before a ball was struck, Scheffler sat in the press room at Royal Portrush and delivered what the Associated Press described as an amazing soliloquy. It was not about his preparation or his game plan. It was about meaning. He said he was not sure why he wanted to win the Open Championship so badly. He said winning would be awesome for 2 minutes. He said being world number 1 was not a fulfilling life in the deepest sense. He wrestled, publicly, with why any of it mattered. The golf media spent 3 days arguing about those comments. Was he depressed? Was he grateful? Was this a performance? Was he trying to lower expectations?
None of those interpretations were right. What Scheffler was actually doing was something almost no athlete at the top of their sport ever does. He was telling you the truth. Not a polished truth, not a media-trained truth, the actual truth about what it feels like to want something this badly without knowing exactly why. Here is the number that puts the context in sharp relief. Scheffler had gone into that Open week having won 3 times already in 2025, including the PGA Championship in May. He had not finished outside the top 10 since March. He came to Portrush not as a man trying to find form, but as the most dominant player on earth trying to explain to a room full of reporters why dominance still has gaps in it. That is an unusual place to speak from, and he spoke honestly from it.
Then he went out and won, by 4 shots. On Sunday, while the crowd wanted someone else to win, the home favorites, McIlroy, Lowry, anyone who made the local faithful feel something, Scheffler quietly played 18 holes that looked, as ESPN put it, like a masterclass. And then the trophy ceremony ended and he left. Nothing compares to what Scheffler said about the Claret Jug when someone finally asked him directly, a full year after he won it. That's coming. Here is the quote. Genesis Scottish Open, July 2026, North Berwick, Scotland. Scheffler is preparing for the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale, 1 week away, and a reporter asks whether he has reflected on his Portrush win in the years since.
His first answer was this: "I'm not really a good reflector. I don't really sit around too much and think about the past, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm in the middle of my career, and probably the end of my career is more a time to reflect." That is a man who does not romanticize his own career while he is living it. He does not build monuments to his past wins and sit in front of them. He moves forward, he shows up, he works. But then the reporter pressed further, asking specifically about the Claret Jug, and that is where the answer changed. Scheffler said, "One thing I will say is that I was surprised how much I enjoyed the Claret Jug. Like it was something to me that I always understood the history and the significance. And you see the names on there and how far it goes back, and it's like the perfect size trophy. Not too big, not too small, and you get to drink out of it. That's an added bonus. It was something that is very special to me."
Read that and think about who said it. This is the man who told a press room the same week he won that if he won, it was going to be awesome for 2 minutes. The man who said he wrestles daily with why he wants to win so badly. The man who flew home the same night instead of celebrating in Portrush. And now, a year later, he is saying the Claret Jug surprised him. It surprised him how much he felt for it. Not in the press room during the adrenaline, not on the 18th green with his family. A year later, sitting in Scotland with jet lag, he is surprised that he still feels something. That is not what a player says when they have already moved on. But the best part of that press conference answer was not about the jug itself. It was about what he did with it when he got home. After the Open last year, we had, I call it a party. We had like a dinner with some of our friends at home, some of our really close friends. And we had from the PGA Championship, the Wanamaker, and the Claret Jug there. And it was really fun. We drank out of both of them. Yeah, I'd say that was probably the most fun memory. We got some good pictures, all my buddies drinking out of it, my manager's son, 10 years old at the time, and he had some lemonade out of it. Little stuff like that. A 10-year-old boy with lemonade in the Claret Jug. That is the celebration of a major championship from the best player in the world. Not a nightclub, not a tour of Portrush, not a press tour the same week. A dinner, close friends, his manager's kid, lemonade and the oldest trophy in golf.
And Scheffler described it as probably the most fun memory. Does Scheffler's private celebration style make him more admirable, or does it feel like something is missing in how he experiences his biggest moments? Comment, more admirable or something is missing. Then he added the line that closes the loop on everything he said before Portrush. I'd say those are always the memories that really last. It's pretty rare in this game when you get to achieve something that you have longed for a long time. It's fun for me to be able to go home and celebrate with the people that are closest to me. The memories that really last. Not the scoreboard, not the press conferences, not the victory ceremony with the cameras and the crowd singing. The dinner, the people, the lemonade.
And just when you think this is only about a man who values family over fame, the reaction from the people he beat tells a completely different story about what this win actually meant to the sport. We'll get to that. Here is what the golf world had promised itself about the state of professional golf going into the 2025 Open Championship at Royal Portrush. The promise, built across 12 months of narrative, Rory McIlroy's Masters win in April 2025 had changed the balance of power. Rory was back. The field had a genuine rival to Scheffler. The Open at Portrush, Northern Ireland, McIlroy's home ground, was supposed to be the moment where the sport's best rivalry ignited into something that could carry professional golf for the next 5 years.
What players and fans gave up based on that promise? The narrative of Scheffler's inevitable dominance. Everyone arrived at Portrush believing something different was possible. Rory was fresh off Augusta. The crowd was his crowd. Shane Lowry had won at Portrush in 2019 and still drew enormous hometown support. The field believed the week was open. How Scheffler broke that promise? He shot 65 in the first round and never let anyone get close enough to believe it. McIlroy finished second. He acknowledged afterward that Scheffler had been on a different level all week. Put yourself in Rory's position Sunday at Portrush. You are standing in the crowd that loves you, literally the most supportive gallery you have ever had in a professional setting. You won the Masters 3 months ago. You are the world number 2. And you watch the man ahead of you on the leaderboard play 18 holes with visible emotion, birdie routinely, recover from a double bogey without blinking, and walk up the 18th with the Claret Jug already won.
That is what McIlroy described when he said Scheffler had been on a different level for the last 2 years. He added something else that the coverage skimmed past. He said he is the bar that we're all trying to get to. Not we hope to match, not we're closing the gap. We are trying to get to where he is. The world's second best player, 3 months after winning a major, at a venue where the crowd was entirely behind him, said he was still trying to reach Scheffler's level. Here's the question that sentence raises. At what point does a competitive gap become so widely acknowledged by the people inside it that the sport's product changes? If the top players in the world are publicly describing themselves as chasing a standard they cannot reach, and if that standard belongs to a man who flies home the same night he wins, what does the sport sell as drama? Now here's the part nobody connected. On the Sunday of the Open Championship at Royal Portrush, while Scheffler was walking up the 18th fairway, the broadcast cameras found his 14-month-old son, Bennett, on the green. After the ceremony, Scheffler walked over to his son. The cameras caught the image. The Claret Jug is a specific size. It has stood roughly the same height for generations, and on the 18th green at Portrush, the Claret Jug and Bennett Scheffler stood at approximately the same height. The Ringer described it as the truly adorable image of him standing next to his 1-year-old son, watching the toddler grasp at the Claret Jug on the 18th green, the trophy and child standing at roughly the same height.
That image existed for about 90 seconds before the ceremony continued. Scheffler did not hold it up for the camera. He did not orchestrate it. He walked over to where his son was standing, the way any father would, and his son reached for the shiny thing in front of him. That moment, a toddler grasping at golf history, contains the entire story of what Scheffler values and how little of it has to do with the ceremony around winning.
He flew home that night with his family. He skipped the Port Rush celebrations. He had his dinner, drank out of the trophies with his friends, let a 10-year-old have lemonade from the oldest prize in golf, and described that as the memory that really lasts. The golf world spent the week analyzing the "not a fulfilling life" press conference. Nobody spent enough time on the sun and the trophy and the dinner in Dallas.
Xander Schauffele was at Royal Port Rush that week. He watched the Sunday round from inside the field. He knows what Scheffler looked like up close, at a major, under pressure, with the crowd behind a different player. After the round, he said, "I don't think we thought the golfing world would see someone as dominant as Tiger come through so soon. And here's Scottie taking that throne of dominance. He's a tough man to beat, and when you see his name up on the leaderboard, it sucks for us." That last line, "it sucks for us," is the most honest competitive assessment any player has made of Scheffler in the last 2 years. Scheffler is a 2-major champion. He has been inside a final group at major championships multiple times. He has won when the pressure was highest. And he said it sucks to see Scheffler's name on a leaderboard.
That is not a player being politely diplomatic. That is a player describing a specific, documented feeling that anyone who has competed against Scheffler on a Sunday has experienced. The leaderboard becomes harder to read when his name is on it. The standard you need to reach goes up. The margin for error shrinks. Scheffler also said something else that Scheffler himself consistently refuses to say, that what he is doing is comparable to Tiger, taking that throne of dominance. That is a claim Scheffler actively avoids making about himself in press rooms. He says, "This week I was the best player in the world, and nothing further." Is Scheffler's dominance genuinely Tiger level, or is the comparison unfair to both players? Comment, Tiger level or unfair comparison?
The gap between what Schauffele says about Scheffler and what Scheffler says about himself is the gap between how this era looks from the outside and what it feels like from the inside. From the outside, throne of dominance, Tiger's successor, the bar everyone else is chasing. From the inside, a fun week, lemonade in the Claret Jug, flying home to Dallas. Both are true, and the fact that both are true at the same time is what makes Scheffler the most genuinely unusual athlete currently active in any sport. The Open Championship at Royal Birkdale is 1 week away from the Genesis Scottish Open presser where Scheffler talked about the Claret Jug. He is the defending champion. He will hand the jug back on Tuesday and then spend 4 days trying to win it back.
He said, "It will be very tough to hand it back on Tuesday next week, but I'll be fighting like heck to get it back on Sunday." Here's the number that makes Birkdale different from every other tournament this season. Scheffler has not won since the American Express in January. 5 months, 13 starts without a trophy. In 2025, when he had the jug in his hands for the first time, his closing rate was historic. 5 final groups, 5 wins. In 2026, in 6 final groups, he has won once. He is going to Birkdale as the defending champion, carrying the jug that surprised him with how much he felt for it, running a 5-month winless streak into the toughest links test in professional golf.
The last player to defend an Open Championship successfully was Padraig Harrington, who won consecutive Opens in 2007 and 2008. Before Harrington, it was Tom Watson in 1982 and 1983. Defending the Open is the hardest repeat in all of professional golf, not because of the course difficulty, but because of what the player carries into the week, the expectation of the trophy they already have in their house, being asked to go win it again. Scheffler carries that expectation in a specific way. He knows how the jug feels in his hands. He knows what it felt like at the dinner table in Dallas. He knows his manager's son put lemonade in it. And he knows that Tuesday morning in North Berwick, he has to give it back.
He said he would be fighting like heck to get it back on Sunday. That sentence from a man who described winning as awesome for 2 minutes is the most competitive thing Scheffler has said publicly in 2026. He wants the jug back. Not abstractly, not in the way a champion says they want to defend. He specifically does not want to hand it back and leave empty-handed. The winless drought, the near misses, the playoff loss to Hovland, all of it has been building towards this week. And the Claret Jug, sitting on a shelf in Dallas for 12 months, has been the most personal version of that pressure. Here is the pattern this Scheffler situation exposes about the gap between how professional golf builds its champions and what those champions actually experience.
The tour's entire product is built around aspiration, the trophy, the ceremony, the celebration in the city where the tournament is held. Shane Lowry in 2019, walking through Port Rush after winning. That is the image professional golf uses to sell what it offers to the players who compete in it. The crowd, the history, the celebration that lasts. Scheffler flew home the same night. He had a dinner with close friends. A toddler reached for the trophy. A 10-year-old had lemonade. And 12 months later, He called that the memory that really lasts.
Here is the question the Tour's promotional machine cannot answer. If the champion of the world's oldest and most storied major championship found the most lasting memory, not in the ceremony, not in the celebration, not in the walk up the 18th fairway, but in a private dinner with family and friends, what exactly is the Tour selling when it builds elaborate post-victory ceremonies and expects its champions to perform gratitude for the cameras? The Tour needs the narrative. It needs Scheffler to be moved by the history, to say the right things about the significance, to stay in Portrush and be part of the celebration that justifies the broadcast investment and the sponsor relationships. Scheffler said, "A fun week," and went home to his son. Not because he does not care, because he cares about different things.
The gap between what the sport's promotional structure needs from its best player and what that player actually values is the widest it has been since Tiger Woods stopped being interested in the performance of gratitude around 2012. Tiger eventually retreated from most public ceremonies entirely. Scheffler has not retreated. He shows up, he answers the questions, he participates in the promotions, including a visit to Jimmy Fallon with the Claret Jug. But his real celebration was a Dallas dinner. His real trophy moment was a toddler grasping at history. His real answer about reflection was, "I'm not really a good reflector." The Tour is built to produce moments the camera captures. Scheffler's most meaningful moments happen in a room with close friends, where the camera is not invited.
That tension between what the sport needs from its champion and what the champion actually is will define professional golf for as long as Scheffler holds world number one. Does the Tour need Scheffler to be more publicly expressive about his victories? Or is his private approach to success actually better for the sport's authenticity? Here is where this lands. Scottie Scheffler won the Claret Jug. He put it on a dinner table in Dallas. His manager's son had lemonade from it. His 14-month-old son grasped at it on the 18th green while cameras rolled. He described that as the memory that really lasts. He flew home that night. He told a room full of reporters a year later that the jug surprised him how much he still felt for it.
That is the Claret Jug story that the golf world missed in the coverage of an amazing soliloquy about what is and is not fulfilling. Scheffler knows exactly what he wants from his career. He wants to win. He wants to win for 2 minutes of awesome and then show up at practice the next week. He wants to put trophies on dinner tables and drink from them with the people who were there before any of it. He is defending the Claret Jug at Royal Birkdale this week. He said he will be fighting like heck to get it back on Sunday. After 5 months without a win, with the trophy already in his memory, with his name already on the silver, that sentence is the most human thing he has said all year.
The Birkdale coverage starts Thursday. Subscribe and you will see it in real time. Because if Scheffler wins on Sunday and gets to keep that jug for another year, the story he tells about what that means will be the most honest answer any major champion has given in years.